Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
You know, it's very difficult to look at this and make a decision with respect to, I could tell you that my client needs that garage. Um, It really could be counted for 2 parking stalls. Um, So he really doesn't feel comfortable in removing the garage. Um, I believe there's, if you show an outdoor a stockade fence, do you have another one of these, David?
I don't have it at all. I don't know.
Oh, well, where did this come from?
Adrian had it in the file.
Well, I didn't have it, that's for sure.
I just got it tonight.
Oh. Oh, oh, you got a bunch of them, yeah. Let me give one to David. Okay, now I need one because of,
Take,
thanks.
all right, we can share, all right.
Huh? Sure. We have our architect, Mr. Volpes. He's going to speak on this, please.
All right, let me have your name,
Sure. Thomas Volpes Jr.,
spell your last name,
V as in Victor, ULPIS,
and your address.
7 Crystal Brook Hollow Road, Port Jefferson, New York.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
This layout right here, I'm not sure who designed this, but I had a number of meetings with Peter Hahn in the planning department, and basically this is the plan we came up with. The whole layout, the original parking spaces didn't meet the required size, and all the driveways weren't the required size, and he says, I want to see the least amount of cars, but I want the parking lot to work. I want all the stalls to be the correct size, all the aisleways the correct size. So again, not really sure where this came from, because I had a number of meetings, and right up until the last hearing that there was, our calculation was wrong on the car amount, and he was pretty much comfortable with 25 cars.
Go ahead, you're on.
Let me, if I could just explain a little bit about the planning department's recommendation on this. We had done an advisory report for the first hearing, right, a planning advisory report. And at that time, we had identified some inconsistencies and some problems with respect to ownership of the property and things like that. And the application, the hearing got adjourned a few times, and the application got modified a little bit to move the parking stalls off the railroad property, basically. They also enlarged the freezer a little bit. Now, if I could, just to update the planning department's recommendation to the board, this may sound like a mixed message, but the bottom line is we recommend approval. And we recommend approval with the understanding that the board makes the decision, but if we're up to us, then the planning department would be as flexible as possible. And the reason for that is, overall, we think it's important to the economic health of the downtown area, the business district, to try to facilitate economic success in the businesses here. About a year and a half ago, we had done an analysis of vacancy rates in the town, and the central business district was hit worse than any other business zone in town. So without being short-sighted, we do think that it's a priority to try to revive and maintain the businesses in the area. So things like outdoor dining and adding freezer boxes, if that's what it takes to make the downtown more successful, then that's a good thing. The negative is the parking situation at first blush seems like it's a problem. It's a very substantial request. There's no parking permitted on Main Street. You know, this is under the trestle. There's no parking lane. Elliott Place is a narrow one-way road, and it's not realistic or safe to park there. I think it's Fairview. Yeah, Fairview, the one with the apartments, is also substandard in width. However, Mr. Tremarco is 100% correct. There's a large commuter parking lot very close to this, so should people find the need to park, they could park there. I think from a long-term planning standpoint, it's extremely unlikely that that parking lot will be used heavily by commuters in the foreseeable future. One could argue, even if it were, the nature of shared parking would kick in here, where the restaurant tends to need the parking as a commuter lot tends to not need parking. I mean, obviously there's lunch, but historically this restaurant has been more of a dinner location. So, having said that, what triggers the parking variance is the fact that the outdoor dining area was over 1,000 square feet. If it was $9.99, they wouldn't need a parking variance. And the second thing that triggers the parking variance is the addition of the walk-in freezer box. I don't think that would generate additional parking, because I believe that their seating capacity won't change. I think that's dictated by the health department, and they could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that adding the freezer box doesn't increase the demand for parking in the property. A couple of factors that I would recommend that the board consider, however, is the freezer box area today, if you've inspected the site, is less than aesthetic, and freezer boxes tend to be less than aesthetic. I've seen examples elsewhere where people treat the outside so that it's an asset to the property and not a liability. The second thing is the outdoor dining and its impact on the apartments to the north. The distance is like a little close. I think the number in the ordinance or in the public notice is a little misleading in a way. The distance is to the property line, not the actual dwellings. However, having said that, sound travels pretty far. And during the day, when traffic is high on Main Street, or every 40 minutes or so when a train comes by, the noise, if people are dining outdoors during the day, anybody living in the apartment wouldn't be able to hear them over the din of the traffic. However, traffic drops off rapidly after the evening rush hour, and the noise level keeps on going down and down to a bottom, to a low point from around 2 in the morning to 5 in the morning. And having the hours of operation lasting that late would likely impact the people who live nearby. As the board knows, I went to a conference on planning last week, and they had a case law update. And one case that seemed kind of applicable here had to do with boards of appeals, outdoor dining, and outdoor drinking. And almost anybody would say that outdoor dining tends not to be a problem, but outdoor drinking is. But it appears that the state supersedes local regulations. Like if you allow outdoor dining and the people have a liquor license, they're drinking outdoors too, apparently. You can't say, well, we'll approve it for food only, or the town board can't say, we'll approve it for food only. So I think that late night timing is a problem. And in all honesty, in my opinion, I don't think people are really eating much at 2 in the morning. And so, based on that, I think that the planning department would recommend that the hours for outdoor dining, not indoor, but outdoor dining not be extended much past the maximum allotted time. The last thing is with respect to the garage, even though we recommended that the garage be removed, we also think if it's important to the applicant for the business to succeed and stay, it's a trade-off. I would say let them have the garage. Oh, I'm sorry, I think Tom pointed out to me, I was going in a direction about the outdoor dining. we recommended cutting it back a little bit so that parking wouldn't be required for the outdoor dining, making it less than 1,000 square feet. And that's why we drew the yellow and the red line where we did. If the board felt that that extra table and a half really isn't enough to trigger a problem, or conversely, if it's not used in the early morning hours, then having the outdoor dining a little closer to the residence district might not be a problem. And just in conclusion, apparently the applicant, their architect, and their attorney haven't seen the drawings till tonight. I think they need a chance to digest them.
Okay. And the other thing is, there's no secret anyway.
Correct.
I'd just like to mention a couple of things, and we thank the planning department and David for that very
Use the mic, Mr. Devon.
good analysis of the situation. There is a planting of trees and bushes and blocking, so to speak, the outdoor dining, which then, runs across the parking lot and then the apartments. So there is an attempt to, if you look at the plan that the planning department made, it shows trees there. With regard to the walk-in box, one of the plans we submitted does show the same siding on the walk-in box as is on the building. So they intend to put that siding on the exterior of the walk-in box. The outdoor dining in the late spring and summer and early fall is something that really is a necessity in this type of economy. The state liquor authority allows you to stay open until 4 o'clock. So that's why we're asking for the same consideration with respect to the outdoor dining area. If you think about it, 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. is really kind of antiquated. It's perfectly good for me, but I'm not out at 11 o'clock, but most people, most young people start going out to dinner at 10 o'clock, and who knows when they stop. It never, in the past, when we had Union Station there, I don't know if there was any complaints. I don't think there was, but, so I don't think this is, really a major issue or concern. As David said, we have a tough economy as it is, and this is one of the entry points into the town, and we want to keep it as nice as we can. So we ask the board to consider all of this and make a favorable determination. I'm sure the applicant, my client, doesn't know what SECRA is, but I'll explain it to him and how every time, or 50% of the time we come to a meeting, this board doesn't have a SECRA recommendation and everybody waits. So earlier tonight, Don King mentioned it. I'm going to say it again. It's really sad that a board has to wait for a SECRA recommendation, and then they get the minutes and they read it at their leisure and then decide to make a recommendation to you. I have a recommendation that the chairman and this board say to the environmental department, send someone here, just like the building department does, just like the planning department does. It's just not right that these applicants have to wait. And you, Madam Chairman, and you have to say, well, we don't have a SECRA. It's the tail wagging the dog, and you should think about it. All they're doing is making a recommendation to you. They're not the lead agency, you are. But that's up to the board and its collective decision. Anyway, I think I've said enough tonight, and I'll try and explain secret to my client, and hopefully you'll give us a favorable recommendation.
What they want. Okay, let me see if anyone, I think people want to speak. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? No one? Okay. Just wait a minute, I'm trying to see what, if we have, if there any what the recommendation from the environmental department is. Is there anything in there? Is it said it's waiting for its transcript, or what are the, is there anything in there? Yeah, let me just see what they say. Yeah. That's what they're waiting for. They want the transcript.
Well, you know how I feel about that, and I guess every other attorney that comes here, and probably the applicants that are knowledgeable, you know, again, it's the tail wagging the dog. Something really should be done about it. I mean, I don't think David and Tom want to spend their nights here, but they come. And planning, Frank DeRubius comes to the planning board meeting. The building inspector comes. Why can't they send a representative and give them comp time? I mean, you know, it's very, very sad. And you've been saying that, Madam Chairman, for how many years I'm waiting for secret?
21.
Long time. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Israeli moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we're all set.
I'm sorry?
I'm just waiting to
Oh, you
start
want
the
me to
next case.
flip the one? Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Are you here for the next one? Okay. Here, you just flipping it. Okay, good.
I didn't think of that, but Christie did in my office. She says, let's save a board.
Okay, so let me read this one. Case 1-16612, it's re-advertised. Whitestone Auto Body Center. Location, west side of Dole Street, west of Middle Country Road, Wisconsin. Property zone WSI. Request special exception to permit repair garages. Variance to permit a special exception without sufficient plot area, frontage, adequate parking, and adequate buffer yards. Increase max gross floor area from 25% to 27%. Reduce the minimum landscaping area from 8% to 3%. Reduce the minimum parking from 46 to 23. Reduce the minimum parking setback from 6 to 0. Reduce road frontage from 100 to 0. Increase the repair garage storage compound from 3,500 square feet to 15,650 square feet.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavit of posting and mailing to David Flynn. Thanks to David Flynn. He came up with this idea. I wish I could have thought of it, but I didn't. But he did. And the problem that we had was if auto body uses come in and rent, because right now they're looking for tenants. The major tenant that Whitestone had left. So after the case was adjourned, I met with David. I think I met with him, or we talked over the phone, and he came up with a great idea. He said, for the time being, let's ask for a variance to increase the repair garage storage compound from 3,500 to 5,650 square feet.
15,000.
What?
15,000.
I'm sorry, 15,650. And as the tenants come in, they would be taking portions of that 15,650 square feet. If ultimately the building gets rented and it's not all repair garage, some other uses, well, we can reduce them. But this way, we don't have to come back each time to the board and ask for the special exception with respect to these repair garage uses. There is a repair garage. It doesn't take up the entire building that's existing right now. We did have a meeting, and we did go through the criteria the last time, and one of the things that we needed a variance for, excuse me, was for the Doyle Street is mostly a private road and partially still a public road, but didn't present a problem anymore. It did 15 years ago or so when we came in the last time, because now you can grant a variance with respect to a special exception. The parking spaces, most of the time, if you see 10 cars there, even when it was tenanted, fully tenanted, there was never a need for more than 15 parking spaces at the most. And the setback, again, it's on a private road from 6 to 0 feet. Really, in this situation, doesn't matter. You're not on a public road. You're like on a private driveway. And reduce minimum road frontage from 100 to 0. That's because it is mostly on a private road, so that you have a situation, a technical situation, that it has no, shall we say, dedicated Smithtown road frontage. But it does have a road. The road's been used for many years. In fact, I remember when we made it a private road, that was with the blessing, I believe it was Jim Dowling at the time, who went along with it. And the people on the road, there's a landscape company, there's my client, there's Acura on the other side. They all make use of the road. So we ask for your favorable consideration. This building has been almost like I won't say a derelict building, but in need of substantial repair. My client has hired an architect, and Phil Pandolfi, and he's supervised the renovations inside. All is being brought up to code, and I think finally my client will have a building that's more than decent looking, and perhaps we can get tenants. Mrs. Forte owns the building. That's really the basis of her income, rentals. So we ask the board for its favorable consideration. And again, I thank the planning department and David, because he came up with a good idea. Thank you.
Planning?
The planning department recommends that the board approve this basically because of the unique circumstances. Some of the requests are pretty substantial, but because of the circumstances, the impact is very small. And the fact that the problem was created about 30 some odd years ago is a factor, I think. The building was built around 1977, 78 as a warehouse, occupied without town approvals as an auto body shop. And I think from the planning department's perspective of looking out for the betterment of the town overall, or the protection of the town overall, you've kind of got this dilemma where what's accomplished to the town by denial, by recommending denial of this, because impacting the neighborhood. It's surrounded on all four sides by business. There is a residential development to the south, but there's commercial property between the residential development and this. So basically, it allows the building to be used legally. It provides for landscaped buffers on pretty much the perimeter of the property. So it would look better in the long run. And I think if anybody, any property owner would find that approval would result in better adjoining property values than denial at this point. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Come up, please. May I have your name, please?
My name is Marie Canova. I am,
Spell
can you
your
hear
last
me?
name.
Okay. Canova, C as in Charles, A, double N as in Nancy, A, V as in Victor, A. First name Marie. I live at 48 Tiffany Court West in Wisconsin. I am a resident in the Country Point North community.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. I have actually questions now because we never received a plan of what was going to be done, so I didn't know. These repair garages, if they are rented, will they emit noise, noxious fumes? What will happen to the water area surrounding it? Where will they dump what they use for their painting and their rust removal? Their tires. They say there'll be a landscape buffer. They say that they are going to put in fewer parking spaces, but more buildings. So my concern is, what are we as a community going to see? Are trees going to be removed from the property so that our view will be diminished and the aesthetics of the property will not improve our property value and will diminish our quality of life?
Okay. All right. Let me, do you want to answer the questions now or we'll wait? Good.
Based on the plans submitted with the application, no trees are to be removed. I didn't count, but a large number of trees are proposed to be planted, some on all four sides of the property. On the south property line closest to Tiffany Park, the building abuts the south property line, but in all places where the building does not abut the property line, the plans show an evergreen buffer. If the board approved the application, I think they'd be required to put in the evergreen buffer. Regarding the environmental effects, it's not my expertise. We rely, like you do, on the advice of the town environmental department, and in this situation, they gave it a green light. So I don't know how to answer that.
Well, we need an answer. I'd like an answer simply because we have 88 homes in that community. We already hear barking dogs from the veterinary hospital that's there. We hear, cars coming in and out. We already have huge lights from the Dodge dealer. We do see the side of the building. It is where our tennis courts and recreation area are. Our swimming pool is there. As a cancer survivor and as an asthmatic, I would like to know what's going to be in the air when these auto repair shops are there. Specifically what's going to be in the air, not some general statement that, well, we don't see a problem with it. We in America have not seen a problem with many things that have turned out to be to the detriment of residents, of communities, and families.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Come up, please, quickly, if you don't mind. May I have your name,
Good
please?
evening. It's Christine O'Gara, O-G-A-R-A,
And your address?
43 Tiffany Way.
And raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. I actually live right behind the property line. My home is the closest unit, and we already are impacted by the businesses and commercial that is there. There are car alarms that go off in the middle of the night from the car dealership and from this 8 years I've been living there for the different cars that have been there for repairs along the through the years. And repairs on cars going into the evening, late into the evening, 11 o'clock. My husband would go to the fence and have to yell over and try and get people's attention because of the disturbances. And so we have been impacted already. So it does really concern me. From my bedroom window, I see the building as it is right now, and I can't imagine what it's going to look like as it gets larger. So while the community at large, yes, is impacted, I have already been for many years that I've lived there. So it is my concern that there will be, and besides the car alarms that go off, the building itself, high winds, different things set off alarms even at the building. So security alarms, I mean. And no one responds to them at 2 o'clock in the in the morning. So it is a concern of ours.
When did these problems start?
They've been for the 8 years I've lived there. And then with the dealership expanding right along the fence, that also has brought more cars. So I don't know where the car alarms are coming from, if they're coming from the repair shop. There were residents in that building she's rented before where there have been repairs. So I don't know where the alarms were. They were cars from that business or from the car dealership. However, we are impacted by the noise. And of course, it's in the middle of the night most of the time. We talk about the barking dogs. We're talking about alarms that nobody comes to take care of. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Quickly, please. I mean, is there anyone else? Come up. Come up. Is there anyone else who's going to speak? Okay. Okay. Let me have your name, please.
My name is Peter Canova. I
Say your last name.
C-A-N-N-A-V-A.
And your address?
48 Tiffany Court West. I also live in the same community.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. I just wanted to expound on one thing. You're going to, if this is to be considered, you're going to be taking 3,000 square feet and converting it into a property that'll be 15,000 square feet. That's 6 times the size of the property that exists there now, which is already an eyesore. I think it would be irresponsible to approve a property of that magnitude behind the community where people live, and as my wife had indicated, is a recreational area. You can hear the power tools. You can hear the air pressure when they're doing work on the tires. You can smell, and I don't even live anywhere near, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, the woman who just spoke. I live further down in the community, and I can smell when I walk the dog at night, on occasions, the paint. I think it's irresponsible to allow a property to be expanded this large, so close to a residential community. It's unsafe, it's unnecessary. If we were talking about storage areas, where rentals are going to be approved, for storage or things of that nature, we probably wouldn't have any, but there's going to be paint work done right behind the residential area. So it's just not reasonable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think there's some confusion. It's not to increase the size of the building, it's to legalize what's there. They're talking about increasing the size of the storage for the cars.
Right.
The building isn't getting any bigger.
Excuse me, I don't like, excuse me. You cannot talk from the audience. If you'd like to come back up, come back up. Okay? Come on. Need to be on the mic. Okay.
Yeah, the building isn't getting any bigger. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's exactly what the use has typically been used for. They're just trying to legalize it.
So there'll be 15,000 square feet extra of parking? Where is it going from
But
3,000 to
it's- yeah,
15,000?
It's the back lot.
Again, we didn't get the plan, so,
It's just that lot that's there is increasing from 3,500 square feet to 15,000 square feet where they're going to actually store the cars.
If I could
Go ahead.
clarify, I think that over the past, they have been storing the cars, not in compliance with the zoning. In the yellow area, the area in question behind the building, I believe they have been storing them there for 30 years off and on, 30 some odd years. Right now, at least as of a month ago, the property seemed vacant or nearly so, both times that I was there. There were no employees, everything was locked up, so I don't know what they've been doing recently.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, now you want to speak? Come quickly, please.
My name is Joe Romano,
Spell your last name?
Romano. I live at 79 Tiffany Way in the same community.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do. I basically have a question. Right now, there is a fence along the southern part of the property line. And then beyond that fence, as you get closer to our property line, there is a parking lot. Are we talking about storage in that area behind the fence?
No.
Well, depends what you mean by behind. Further from you,
Further, closer to us?
No.
In other words, there's a fence at the end of the property line now, and then there's storage of cars after that.
the storage between the building and your development is not this property. That's
That's the automobile.
one of the motor vehicle
Right.
showrooms.
We're not talking about encroaching into that area.
You are
we?
correct. You're
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Travalco?
He did it. Oh, thank you. No problem. Couple of things, and I understand that the people from Tiffany Park's concerned. Number one, when you have a body shop, you have to comply with health department and environmental rules. So the painting of cars are required to be in what's known as a spray booth with various filters and things of that nature. You just can't spray out in the open and so forth. Repairs are and will be made within the building. And as David explained, that area to the south is not owned by my client, and if you look, it's probably new cars that are stored there. So what we're trying to do really is clean up the place and make it better. The property is zoned for repair garage, body shop. That's the zoning that's been there for many, many years, even before Tiffany Park came to be a reality. But we have neighbors and we understand it. And now, finally, we're trying to fix it up so that it'll be better, not worse. So we ask for the board's favorable consideration, and we consider the neighbors, and we will continue to consider the neighbors. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Is ready, moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Huh? Mr. Move for insignia. Hello. Should I start reading? All right, so I'm going to read both cases. You want me to just read the one case? Yeah, I know, but I have which?
16643.
I know I have the one that's re-advertised, and I have just the one that's re-advertised. You don't want the other one that's adjourned. We adjourned the other one also.
Well, I think it's the one that's adjourned is the one that's re-advertised. That's number 43.
Right. And I have the one 44 was adjourned also.
Only, I think, if you will, not for like information or evidence, but just so that the two get approved or
All right.
denied, hopefully approved at the same time.
We completed the evidence on that, testimony on that.
I know that. So you just, I'm just going to read this one then. Okay. Dash 116643, re-advertised Smithtown, Long Island Hotel Properties. Location north side of Motor Parkway, east of Moreland Road. Hot Park Property Zone LI. Request variance to reduce the minimum required parking from 553 spaces to 374. Increase the maximum floor area ratio from 42% to 52%. Reduce the minimum required 1,800 square foot of site area for each guest room to 1,469 square feet.
Thank you. Bram Weber, Weber Law Group, 290 Broad Hollow Road, Suite 208, Melville, for the applicant. Smithtown, Long Island Hotel Properties, LLC, property located 110 Motor Parkway, Hauppauge. Again, this is a continuation of hearing 16643 in connection with the proposed subdivision of the Smithtown Sheridan property, which would leave two parcels, one of 7.05 acres and one of 3.41 acres. The 3.41 acre property is proposed for a new Spring Hill Suites limited service hotel. The Sheridan, by virtue of the subdivision, required 3 variances: increase in permitted gross floor area, required square feet for each guest room, and the reduction in required parking from 553 spaces to 374 spaces. Nothing other than the subdivision is proposed for the Sheridan property. It's not being expanded or altered in any way. At the last hearing, there was a question as to the number of required parking spaces and the variance therefrom. We presented testimony on the other 2 variances needed, the gross floor area and the reduction in required square feet for each guest room. Alan King, who was with me this evening, provided testimony on the parking variance. We did submit a parking study at the last hearing. So after a long night, I'm very happy to just say, if you have any questions, both myself and Alan are available to answer them.
Planning, is there anything?
We read the study. Before reading the study, my intuition is that there's not enough parking. However, the study seemed thorough. Its methodology was rational. I think its conclusions are credible.
Okay.
So we don't have an objection. One thing that the director asked me to mention is that since there is a parking variance and the amount of demand of parking will intensify and the traffic will intensify, he asks that the board, if the board approves this, that approve it with a condition that the whatever is blocking the access between this property and the office building to the west be removed, so that there's the potential for shared parking, the ability for a safer left turns leaving the site, that people could go through the office building parking lot to a traffic signal and make a left. In any event, that's his recommendation.
I believe the applicant has no problem with removing that. It was there because for a time there was a crime issue or a burglary issue in the cars at the Sheridan. That's what they had felt. They felt that by blocking the entrance between the office building and the hotel, that did alleviate the crime problem. Maybe we could condition it somewhat on if there was a certain demand for a certain number of cars anticipated at the Sheridan for an event, then it would be open for that purpose. Again, I don't think the applicant would have an issue either way. but I think they would maybe feel more comfortable if they were able to close it at times, if there wasn't going to be excessive demand for parking in order to keep the cars at the Sheraton without issue.
Okay.
Is there a cross-access easement?
Tom says yes.
There is, for purposes of utilizing the light that's at the office buildings. And I believe that was basically required at the time of the office building approvals. Again, the applicant has no issue either way, but
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Nope.
Planning, is there anything else? No, thank you. Okay. I have to say this to you also. We do not have secrets for either case, so there's no action tonight. Okay?
I'm working with the environmental department over trying to expedite that. They also need to see the minutes of tonight's hearing. So I'll let them know what the minutes are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Is it ready moved and second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
I think we have to close the
That
other- we have to
concludes.
Close the other one also, right?
Yeah,
That closed both hearings, right?
that's why I was going to read the other one, but
Okay.
I'll have to close the other one now. All right, on case 16644, Smithtown, Long Island Hotel Properties, I'll have a motion to close that hearing.
So moved. Second?
Ready, moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes our hearings for tonight. Thank you so much.